Okay, hello everybody. We're back and we're still in what chapter ito? Still on chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the longest, I think, longest chapter for our uh, course. Okay, I think this would be our second to the last. I have divided this topic into two, no? So second to the last topic na. Okay, annuities. So ano ang annuities? An annuity is a series of payments made of at equal intervals. Examples of annuities are regular deposits to a savings account. So yung savings account mo, for example, you deposit a certain amount of money monthly. So yung savings account mo, for example, nag-deposit ka ng 1,000, 1,000 ulit the following month. So equal payments, no, or deposits. Another example is monthly home mortgage payments, monthly insurance. Another is a monthly insurance payments. Okay, pag yung mga may insurance dyan, life insurance or other types of insurances, so usually yung mga payments natin every period are equal. Pension payments also, no, yung mga parents or grandparents are nagpe-pension, usually their monthly na-receive nila ay the same, no? Then annuities can be classified by the frequency of payments. So hindi lang siya yearly, pwede ring monthly or quarterly or semi-annually. So basta yung period, meron siyang period, and at every period they have the same payment. And usually these payments are made at the end of the period. In some instances, payments are made at the beginning, but usually it is paid at the end of each period. Okay, so we have different types of annuities. It depends on the situation. The first case would be the uniform series present worth factor. That means given yung annual payments or payments for each period at the end of the period, and we are going to solve for the initial deposit here. So mag-deposit ka, halimbawa gusto mong ganito yung ma-receive mo every year or every 2 years. So this amount gusto kong maka-receive ng 10,000 every year. So ano dapat yung i-deposit ko ngayon para maka-receive ako ng ganitong amounts every year for 10 years. Let's say for example 10 years, no. So yeah, so given or alam natin yung mga annual or periodic payments natin, equal periodic payments, what would be the initial deposit at the beginning. Okay, so yeah, so that is we can solve actually annuities can be solved using yung topic natin before na compound interest, you know. But let's try to derive yung formula natin for this particular type of annuity. So if alam natin yung annual payments or yung periodic payments natin, let's say for example, let's call it A, since we're dealing with annuities, A na lang yung notation natin for the payment. So equal yan, equal yung amount. So ang gagawin natin by compound interest, kunin natin yung present worth value ng each payment. Ito, so transfer natin ito. Okay, yung first payment natin, isolve natin yung present value niya. Ganun din sa second payment. What would be the present value of the second payment? And the succeeding payments, kukunin natin lahat ng present value ng succeeding payments. Yan, transfer natin lahat yan sa present value. And you would be arriving with this formula to solve for the present value of this particular periodic payments of A. Then we would be arriving with this equation or formula to solve for the present worth or present value. So the term in the bracket, itong bracket, ito naka-bracket na to, we call this the uniform series present worth factor. Okay, uniform series present worth factor. Ito yung naka-bracket, naka-enclose sa bracket. Okay? Okay. So the second condition is when the present worth or the initial deposit, yung deposit natin is given, what would be the annual periodic or the periodic payments that I will be receiving. For example, nag-deposit ka ng 100,000 pesos in a certain interest rate. So ano yung ma-receive mo annually or periodically, depende sa agreement, no? So equal payments, no? So yun ang hanapin natin. If that is the case, we can just manipulate this equation. Since we are solving for A, the periodic payments, i-cross multiply lang natin. Ayan. Then we will be arriving with a formula or an equation to solve for A, the periodic payment A. So cross multiply lang tayo. Okay? So we call this, itong naka-bracket, ang tawag natin dyan ay the capital recovery factor. So we call this the capital recovery factor. Ayan. Okay. So again, if you want to solve for P, yung initial deposit mo, so you'll have a periodic payment A in the future, then we use this formula. Or you can, pag nakalimutan mo yung formula, you can derive it using yung compound interest natin. Basta ang concept niyan is that yung periodic payments natin na A equal yung A na yan. Okay, i-transfer mo lahat yan dun sa present worth niya. Okay. Pag nakalimutan mo yung formula, you can easily derive it using yung compound interest natin. Then then the second condition or situation is when P is given, yung present worth, what would be the periodic payment that I will be receiving or paying, depende sa situation. Okay, you simply manipulate this equation and solve for the value of A. Okay, and that's it. So we call this factor to be the uniform series present worth factor, and this one close in the bracket, we call this the capital recovery factor. Okay, let's try to solve some problems to illustrate the concepts. Okay, let's solve the first problem. How much money should you be willing to pay now for a guaranteed 30,000 per year for 9 years starting next year at a rate of return of 16% per year? Okay. So we are solving for the present value of 30,000 every year for 9 years. So yun ang ide-deposit natin, so that for the succeeding years up to the 9th year, I will be receiving 30,000 pesos at the rate. So yung rate of return natin, yung interest natin is 16% per year. Medyo malaki yung interest rate natin na 16% per year. So the annual payment or the money that you will be receiving is 30,000. The interest rate is 16%. That would be applicable for 9 years. And then we are solving for the present worth of these periodic payments of 30,000 per year for 9 years. So I'm going to use this formula. we have 30,000 times, so multiply natin yung uniform series present worth factor natin since we are solving for the present worth. So 1 plus I should be in decimal form. N is 9 years, and we have is 1 I 1 plus 0.60 times 9. Okay, so we have ang i-deposit natin ngayon ay, so we have 138,196.316 pesos. Yan ang i-deposit natin, so that we will be, or I will be receiving 30,000 every year for 9 years starting next year. Okay? Ayan. Okay, next, second problem. An engineer who is about to retire has accumulated 2,500,000 pesos in savings account that pays 6,000 per year, compounded annually. So may naipon siya na 2,500 ay 2,500,000. Malapit na siyang mag-retire. Suppose that the engineer wishes to withdraw a fixed sum of money at the end of each year for 10 years. What is the maximum amount that can be withdrawn? So, i-invest niya ngayon yon. Ilalagay niya yung 2,500,000 in an account that pays 6% per year compounded annually. So, ano ngayon yung marireceive niya yearly for 10 years na amount? Okay. So, given yung present worth, what would be the annual, since annual naman ito, annual payment na marireceive niya for 10 years with a rate of 6%. No? Yung interest rate natin na 6% per year. Okay, so we are solving for the periodic payment or the annual payment given the present worth. Okay, so we have 2,500,000. The interest rate is 6%, should be in decimal form. We have 10 years. Okay, so the annual payment that would be received by the engineer is, we have $339,669.8956 pesos. Okay, ito yung marireceive niya every year kapag in-invest niya or in-deposit niya yung 2,500,000 to the account. Okay. Okay, let's solve this third problem. What is the present worth of 500 pesos deposited at the end of every 3 months? That means that means quarterly ito, no? Every 3 months for 6 years if the interest rate is 12% compounded annually. Okay, so the problem can be treated as an annuity since the deposits are given uniformly at the end of 3 months, or that is quarterly. Okay, so quarterly, deposit ka ng 500 pesos for 6 years. So the given interest rate is compounded. Ito yung problem, ano? Because the interest rate is uh, compounded semi-annually. So iba yung compounding, yung period ng compounding at yung um, pag-deposit. So 3 months ito or quarterly siya. Semi-annual yung compounding, number of compounding. So if that is the case, then we need to solve the equivalent interest rate, yung semi-annual, yung 12% compounded semi-annually, ko-convert natin yan sa equivalent interest rate sa quarterly. So how do we do that? So let's try to remember or recall yung concept ng effective rates, no? So for the two terms to be equal, yung interest rates to be equal, no, they should have equal effective rates. So equate lang natin yung effective rate kapag quarterly, and then yung semi-annual. Okay, so 12% compounded semi-annually. So let's try to solve first for the interest rate quarterly before we can solve for the present worth of 500 pesos deposited every 3 months or quarterly for 6 years. So solve muna natin yung interest rate quarterly. So let's equate yung effective rate. Effective rate kapag quarterly is, so 1 plus I, so raised to 4 minus 1. So ito yung effective rate kapag quarterly yung payment. So we are basically solving for the interest rate. Ito. Then equal yan sa effective rate kapag compounded semi-annually. Okay, so ano yung effective rate niya? It's 1 plus, we have 12%. Since it is semi-annual, we divide it by 2. Then raised to 2 minus 1. Okay, then solve for the interest rate quarterly. It's equivalent to 0.029563, or it is equal to, move tayo, it's 2.9563 percent. It's the equivalent interest rate every 3 months or quarterly. Now we can solve for the present worth of this annual quarterly payments of 500 for 6 years. So we have 500. Let's try to write down the formula first. Okay, so the quarterly payment is 500. 1 plus the interest rate per quarter is then ilan yung N natin, since quarterly yung payment tapos 6 years, so we simply multiply. So every year nagpabayad ng 4 na beses for 6 years. Yan. So we have 24. Okay. Minus 1. And so the present worth is equivalent to 8,506.588 pesos. Okay, so if you deposit this amount at an interest rate of 2.9563% quarterly, then you will be receiving every quarter 500 pesos. But in this case kasi given yung 500 pesos as being deposited, no, quarterly, then we will be in the present, ito yung value niya. So 8,506.588 pesos. Okay, so that's for problem number 3.